All right, welcome back. So let's talk some oil, some autos, some refineries, and some politics. Joining me now, actually first time on set together, Katie Pavlich, townhall.com editor, Fox News contributor, and Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General, and AFPI, that's America First Policy Institute, Justice and Law co-chair. See, I got it done.
That's right. And
if that weren't enough, Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures, Shark Tank investor, and author of Cold Hard Truth on Business, Money, and Life. Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for doing this. Terrific stuff.
Thank you, Larry.
In honor of the EPA, which is trying to destroy the fossil fuel system, among other things, I want to begin with Mr. O'Leary's aspiration to build a refinery, which, Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong, historically, we haven't done that since the late 70s.
Yeah, the technology we have is ancient. Chinese just announced a $14 billion mandate. They're going ahead. They understand. People don't really understand that when you pull oil out of the ground, it's useless until you refine it. You need distillates, you need jet fuel, you need gasoline, you need diesel. We don't do that very well here because we haven't done anything on the tech side for so long. The trouble is getting a permit. The capital is there. I'm going to syndicate the capital, but I need a permit. And that's what I'm going to work on. I'm spending a lot of time in Washington.
We've got some sound on your exuberant announcement of this venture. Take a listen.
I'm going to build a refinery in America.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to do it. It's going to cost about $14 billion. I'm going to syndicate that debt and that equity. I'm going to find a state that wants to work with me. I'm going to get a permit, and we're going to do the right thing for America. We have to have more refineries.
All right. All super terrific stuff. You saw how shocked they were when you announced that such a thing is possible. North Dakota, is that where you want to do it?
It's one of the states. It's a lot of people don't understand the policy around EPA. You've been talking about EPA is different in different states. Wyoming, North Dakota. North Dakota pipeline is going to be an issue. That's also part of the package. But they have their ability to issue permits without dealing with the EPA the way everybody else has.
Really? I didn't know that. Is that
Every
right?
time I come here, I tell you something new about North Dakota.
I never knew
We
this.
have to get there, Larry.
No, we're going. Yeah. We're already arranging. We're talking to Senator Kevin Cramer and his people. We're going to go out there for a couple of days. We're going to do at least one show out there.
Outstanding. Then we'll go fishing.
We've got planes. We might go fishing. That's not my favorite thing in the world.
I have a question about the refinery process. How do you plan on combating the protesters? Because inevitably there will be many of them when you try to
I think
do this.
I'm the right person to sell this vision for America. I really do. I'm pragmatic. I'm realistic. The idea that we're not going to be needing oil in 5, 10, or 15 years is a fantasy.
Yeah.
Ludicrous.
I think that reality needs to be talked about a lot. I don't mind talking about it because it's true. And I think energy independence should be a bipartisan elective. And I think that the Chinese, here's the thing we should really worry about. I don't think we've spent enough time talking about it. The Middle Eastern countries that produce the majority of oil in the world have already signaled to oil-producing nations that they are servicing, get your acts together, because we cannot be guaranteeing you oil in perpetuity.
Right.
We buy a lot of oil from those countries. Canada, who has an...
We don't need to.
We don't need to.
Right.
And they're telling us we don't want to. In fact, those are the countries that would be willing to invest in refineries and infrastructure. So we're not worried about the capital, Larry. We're worried about the permitting process. But I think I can sell this to America. I really do.
Pam Bondi,
you're a perfect person
legally,
Thank you.
legally, Pam, can this EPA overreach be stopped? Okay, what they're trying to do, basically, I mean, they're saying it's about tailpipe emissions, but that's not really true. They're going to run the 5th largest industry in America, which is the car business, and decimate most of it, okay? And secondly, they want to eliminate the fossil fuel business, and this would be a giant step. Now, we had Bill Barr on talking about that. From your experience, can EPA be stopped, halted? Can the Supreme Court decision give us a thought?
Absolutely. And Larry, this is a war on the American dream. And that's why what you're doing, Kevin, is so important for our country. And I believe, Larry, right now, it's 1 million barrels plus per day that the Biden administration is below per day what the Trump administration was doing.
We hit 13.1 pre-pandemic. They're still around 12.1, maybe 12.2 on a good day.
Incredible. And that's hurting everyday middle America. It's a war on America, and that's why it's so important. And yes, the EPA can be stopped. I think you did a great job trying to stop them in the former administration.
Yeah, well, it's not just the EPA, though. A lot of the oil and gas leasing and permits come through the Interior Department.
Yep.
So you're also dealing with the Interior Department on a number of levels.
Excellent point.
They're in a number of states across the country. This is going to be the worst part. I mean, if you look at the way that California has tried to do things like desalinization so that all of the water isn't running into the ocean so they can actually not have a drought, they can make sure their farmland has enough water, they are saving the Delta smelt, or whatever that fish is called, because of the EPA.
Oh,
so they now have this massive drought problem as a result of EPA policies that prevent them from bringing technology in to solve the problem, not just for the environment, but also for the farmers and the people who live in California, so they don't have to ration their water sources.
That's right.
So the permitting and through the EPA and Interior Department will be the most difficult thing. It's good you're spending time in Washington, but spending time with some environmental lawyers, too, is going to be a good thing.
I love big, hairy deals, and this is one. This is a big, hairy deal.
But, just to stay on this crazy EPA stuff and taking over the fifth largest industry in America, the car business, right? New car dealers are going to go out of business. But, Kevin, what's so interesting, every poll shows middle-income people, lower-income people don't want electric vehicles because they're too expensive.
Well, they're concerned about the charging grid, the infrastructure. It's going to take a couple of decades.
And the price, and the cost.
Yeah, to make it work. And that may become a reality one day, but I have to live in the real world, Larry. I'm an investor. I have to put money to work that provides long-term returns, hopefully in double digits. So I understand the political attractiveness of talking out of hydrocarbons and EV and all this stuff, but it's just not real when it comes to being an investor. You know with certainty it's going to take a much longer period. And administrations are going to come and they're going to go. It doesn't really matter who's in the White House. People need energy, period.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me invest in that.
80% of the power comes from fossil fuels. We looked it up again today because I put it in my riff. Can I just offload? Pam Bondi, our former boss, or mine, but yours too, Donald Trump is coming back to New York to meet with Letitia James, who ran against Trump, who thinks he's ran his own business fraudulently and is hauling him off to court. Can you give us 30 or 40 seconds on this nonsense?
Sure. I mean, President Trump is back here today. It's my understanding. I spoke to him a couple days ago. She's got him in depositions. I think she and Alvin Bragg are trying to outdo each other with 1-2 punches on who can go after Donald Trump and his children. And it's utterly ridiculous.
It's a phony baloney charge.
It is. It's, millions and millions of documents they have gone through. And now they're still going after this family. And they're not going to stop. But, he's the strongest person I know. He's
a fighter. And, Katie, I just want to check in. Trump's polls have exploded. He's actually now pulling slightly ahead of Biden. But in the Republican side, he's got a, 30, 35-point lead. What does Ron DeSantis do? Because we're not hearing from him. He's kind of in a pickle. I don't think he has much. I mean, he's fighting to take over Walt Disney. I don't think that's going to get him elected to anything. What's happened to him and what's going to happen to him?
I mean, we don't know, right? Everyone's been talking about Ron DeSantis as if he's in the race. He's not a declared candidate. He has time if he wants to wait until the next cycle to run. He could, finish out his governorship and wait until 2028. He's not in the race yet, and it doesn't seem like he's in a hurry to get in the race either. So he's not a declared candidate.
Or say anything.
Well, why does he, he's not a declared candidate, so why does he need to be fighting in a presidential primary when he's actually not in the primary?
I'm going to just end this. We got to get out. But, Kevin, I don't really care who it is. Cut taxes, cut regulations, open the economy up to entrepreneurs.
I'm so happy there's a competition between states now. We're talking about places outside of Massachusetts, New York, California. I don't consider them investable. I don't invest there. And so I focus on Texas and Florida and other places that want capital and provide an environment that's competitive. I was at Nashville last night. The city has doubled in 4 years. Why? No state tax.
Right.
It's that easy.
And good music.
Unbelievable scene down there.
Good music, too.
And I thought it was the weather. Kevin O'Leary, Katie Pavlich, Pam Bondi. This is a hell of a panel. You all wonderful
Great to
stuff.
see you.